For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it has pleased the Lord to make you his people. Isn't that good news? That's good news, isn't it? The Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake. And as we read this chapter, I break it up into a number of short little sections, and we're going to read through it briefly with like comments, but I really want to focus in on these last words of Samuel. This is what we call Samuel's farewell address. If you recall, the people of Israel have asked for a king, and God has chosen a king for them, the one they desired. In fact, that's what Saul's name means. It means desired, and so they got what they wanted. And so Samuel is going to give his farewell address, and in the first 5 verses, Samuel's going to call the people to witness his character, that he was upright. He is, in a sense, being demoted. He's stepping down from his role as the spiritual authority in the nation. But why? Is it corruption? Is it unfaithfulness? No. Samuel has been faithful. And then we'll notice in verses 6 through 12 that Samuel calls upon the people to remember the Lord's character, that God has in the past raised up for them leaders and heroes to save them. He's answered their prayers. He's answered them when they cried out for mercy, especially when they were suffering because of their own unfaithfulness. They would often go after other gods, but the Lord brought them back to him. And he starts with Moses and Aaron. And he recalls the heroes of the previous book, the book of Judges. He speaks about Jerubbaal or Gideon. He speaks about Bedan, Jephthah, and himself, Samuel. God hasn't been faithful. Samuel says, I haven't been faithful, have I? Well, God hasn't been faithful either. But he's reminding them of their tendency toward unfaithfulness. And then, from verses 13 to 18, Saul is going to be held up as the object of their desire, and Samuel is going to remind them not to allow their king to eclipse the Lord. There's a warning there. He tells them, if you and your king continue with the Lord, you'll be okay. But if you rebel, Samuel's message is, don't think that your king's going to save you. In fact, the very last words of the chapter, he says, but if you still do wickedly, you will be swept away, you and your king. And so Samuel brings a warning to them, and to support his warning, we'll see here, that Samuel says, hey, listen, I'm going to pray to the Lord, and he's going to confirm my warning to you with thunder. And it was a time of year when thunder was rare, unusual. And yet the Lord, through that time, he allows just great thunder and rain to come. And with that rain, it sort of seemed to douse their patriotic zeal. It puts them into a state of sobriety, and the people understand and they're soberly aware of the dangers that lie ahead for them. They're humbled. And they pray, and they're afraid. And Samuel here in these last verses, verses 20 to 25, shows them the heart of a pastor, and he encourages them to follow the Lord. He exhorts them to avoid and abandon empty pursuits and remember continually the Lord's faithfulness and love for them. And he closes with the promise to continue praying for them and an exhortation to serve God with all their hearts. So let's read together through the chapter and keep in mind those sections that I mentioned. Here in the first 5 verses, Samuel reminds them of his faithfulness. Now, verse 1, Samuel said to all Israel, indeed, I have heeded your voice in all that you have said to me and have made a king over you. Now here is the king walking before you, and I am old and gray-headed. And look, my sons are with you, and I've walked before you from my childhood to this day. So here I am. Witness against me before the Lord and before his anointed, the anointed king. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? Or from whose hand have I received any bribe with which to blind my eyes? I'll restore it to you. In verse 4, they responded and said, you haven't cheated us or oppressed us, nor have you taken anything from man's hand. And so Samuel in verse 5 said to them, well, then the Lord is witness against you, and his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand. And they answered, he is witness. Samuel's one of those characters in the Bible that you don't see any flaws. He's a perfect example of an upright minister, something that we value and treasure. But here at the end of his ministry, he's going to be around for a number more years. But he's not going to be at the forefront. He's going to be appealed to and consulted, and yet he's not going to direct the spiritual life of Israel. And so he says, hey guys, I've been faithful, haven't I? And yet you've desired a king. And he's building up to his next points. And here in verses 6 through 12, he's going to continue by calling them to remember God's faithfulness as well. Then Samuel said to the people, it is the Lord who raised up Moses and Aaron and who brought up your fathers from the land of Egypt. And now therefore stand still that I may reason with you before the Lord concerning all the righteous acts of the Lord which he did to you and your fathers. When Jacob had gone down into Egypt and your fathers cried out to the Lord, then the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your fathers out of Egypt and made them dwell in this place. He reminds them, when you cried out to the Lord, he answered. And when they forgot the Lord their God, he sold them into the hand of Sisera, the commander of Hazor, and into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the king of Moab, and they fought against them. Again, he reminds them that when you cried to the Lord, he was faithful, but you forgot. And that's the danger he's warning them about. But when they cried out, verse 10, to the Lord and said, oh, we have sinned because we've forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and Ashtoreths. But now deliver us from the hand of our enemies, and we will serve you. Pay attention to that. Their promise to serve the Lord, to worship the Lord, even though they had turned aside to Baal and Ashtoreth, these foreign gods. And so the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Bedan, Jephthah, and Samuel, and there were many others that we read about in the book of Judges. And he delivered you out of the hand of your enemies on every side, and you dwelt in safety. And when you saw Nahash, the king of the Ammonites, came against you, you said to me, no, but a king shall reign over us when the Lord your God was your king. And so here Samuel reminds them of God's faithful character.